Hi everyone, I think it started record. Oh, great. Welcome to this masterclass on archetype relationships and really feeling into the frequency that we are emitting and the way we create space for other people to connect with us. And so there's three energetic truths that I want to kind of hone in on here, and specifically when it comes to relationships. And it is about every response that we have to any person is an energetic decision of how we're going to relate with them. And I really believe that everyone deserves to be happy and deserves to be able to choose how they interact in the world. And of course, it's as long as they're not hurting other people. But it's really believing that taking that right for yourself and also allowing other people to have that as well. And it's important to feel out dominating energy versus allowing energy. And so when you really give that to yourself, when you give yourself all of the permissions to set appropriate boundaries, to take rest, to follow your desires, you are really setting a precedent in your own energetic field. Like you're generating your passions, you're generating good feeling energy from yourself, and it's coming from within you. And it's very easy to feel people in your energetic field who want to dominate you or manipulate you, who are trying to control you. And so that's the foundation of what I want to share today, is that knowing your own base, like foundational base energetics when it comes to your earth, water, and fire energy, you'll be able to tell. It's like about your relationship with yourself. Your relationship with yourself is going to set a precedent for your relationship with other people. And when your relationship with yourself is like top tier, high vibe, like really clean and clear, you can tell right away when someone has motivations to control you or push you in any way that's not serving you. So, let's see. So really owning our energy and speaking up around boundaries, making space for others to do the same is an act of divine rebellion. We live in a world where we're judgmental. We feel guilty. We do things out of that. Well, like we show up in a way because we don't want to feel guilty. And that's been the normal paradigm for a very long time. We were raised in that paradigm. Maybe some of us had parents who were more aware and didn't try to manipulate us in those ways, but most of us, especially at my age, in my 40s, most of us grew up in homes where it was very normal to make choices from a place of obligation. And also, it was very normal to suppress our own personal, authentic interests because it didn't make sense to other people. And also, it was really normal to suppress those same interests, like authentic interests, as a way of exchanging. I'm exchanging my authentic sense of self so I can belong to this group, probably my family. But we know those stories from school, like high school and stuff, where we didn't want to seem like a dork or whatever, and so we really wanted to belong with the cool kids, and we suppressed our own authentic interests and personality traits so we could belong. And that's been normalized. But where do we go from here? We're healing and we're owning our power and we're owning our energy in a really strong, unapologetic way. We're shining our light so other people can do the same thing, and we're changing what's normal. We're changing that paradigm. with this divine rebellion, you know? Okay, so archetypal patterns and relationship patterns. Okay, I'll share like Carl Jung is a Swiss psychologist and he is in the late 1800s. He coined the term archetype, and he talks about in his research how he noticed every person has about 15 to 20 dominant archetypal patterns, which really just represents a visual. If I start talking about archetypes, you'll have a visual picture, and we do this all the time. We speak in metaphor and symbolism. That's how we are as people and how we relate to each other. If I'm like talking to you about my friend and she's just a real mothering, nurturing type, you already have like an idea about her. And this is what we do. So we all have about 15 to 20 archetypes, and that's really fun to explore. If you just start to tune into that, it can be a lot of fun. But if like, so the hero, the warrior, the healer, and that's about like the hero is about our ability to persevere through serious things, like when we feel like the world is against us, but we tap into our inner hero and we go on our hero's journey and we learn new things and come out reborn. We can all relate to that. And the warrior, where we set boundaries for ourselves and we stop taking people's shit and we stand up for people who are being suppressed, and we really tap into our inner warrior and we go out there. And that inner healer is when we do that. We sit with ourselves, we sit with our shadow self, we do the inner work, we get spiritually disciplined, we learn new tools, and we learn new practices, and we start relating with ourselves in a new way. So I think those are all things that we can all relate to. And then there's other things that, let's see here. There's other things like, if I start talking about the musician, the philosopher, the athlete, the engineer, the artist, the addict, the empath, the bully, the medicine woman, the priestess, the king, and all of these things have a picture. You have like a visual with them, and they all connect with values. So every archetypal pattern has a value. And so sometimes we have these 15 to 20 archetypal patterns. And so that's when we get confused and conflicted, because we're not sure which value we want to act on. And each archetype has like a belief system, an assumption system. So like they can believe something, but they can also have like a shadow assumption about something, like judgments about something. And there's certain behaviors connected with all these archetypes. And I won't get into the whole archetypal thing, but I just wanted to I'm going to be using the term archetype. And when we really start to dig into our archetypal patterns, like I think of archetypal patterns as like our archetypal frequency. This is the energy we are emitting. And also we have a receptive archetype, like the way we can receive people. And so if I have a big rescuer archetype and people tell me their sad stories, I'm going to jump in. I'm ready to help you. I'm ready to make you feel better, because if I have a shadow rescuer, I might even get my self-esteem by how much I help people, how much I jump into people's business and their dramas, and I'm just so involved in other people's life stories. But it actually is like, I might think that I'm such a nice person, I'm so giving, but it's actually, there's some shadow elements to it that I could explore. So, but I want to focus on the archetypes that are coming from the first three energy centers, the root, the sacral, and the solar plexus. And so these are so the root, really, like what is the root? Like the emotions of the root, they are about belonging, and they are about feeling safe. And the root is relating with our family. It's how we were raised. And it's the first it's how our brain was developed. Like we have these neural patterns, these neural pathways that are hardwired in our human mind. They can change. Sometimes there's people who say like that's how our brain is, but that's not true. We know that's not true because of more modern research. but tuning in to how we were raised and how our neural pathways were first developed, and our feelings around belonging and our feelings around tribal safety. Does the tribe protect me? Have shaped so much of who we are right now. And so the archetypes that are from this space are the child and the victim. And so the child archetype can manifest in, let's see, what did I write? I just skipped. I'm just going to go ahead, but I'll backtrack. So the child archetype can manifest in ways of feeling unsafe. Let's see, what am I trying to say? Okay. When we tolerate disrespect from other people over and over, and they hold, we hold on longer than we should in certain relationships. That comes from a wounded child archetype. And because we learn, like, just as children in survival situations, if we don't feel safe, and we look at our parents, for example, maybe it was different for each person, but that's just like typically it's like if our parents didn't really give us that sense of safety, if like we had a parent who was emotionally unavailable, or if a parent who had an addiction problem, then if there was a lot of yelling in the house, sometimes we develop this hypersensitivity to tuning into people and making stories about people, like being like they're just doing the best they can, they're so stressed out. And as children, that was a survival practice, something that a lot of us had to do to be able to cope with a hectic, chaotic environment. But as adults, we can kind of carry on that same framework in the mind and make excuses for people and hold on to relationships longer than we should and have a hard time letting go of people. And so, let's see, and it comes from that inner source of unconditional love. It comes from this beautiful place of being able to, like, I really hope that they'll see me. I really hope that they see all the stuff that I'm doing for them. And so as we heal that, like, healing that looks like taking back, like giving all of that to ourselves, like understanding that we deserve love and respect. I mean, depending on what the situation, it's hard to speak really vaguely, but the point is that, let's see, the point is when we notice ourselves making excuses for people and saying, it's like that's a point to evaluate. And let's see, this can, and then growing up, this can create situations with a boss and like an employee kind of relationship. It can manifest in like teacher student type relationships where it's really about giving someone an external source or an external individual power, and we give them our authority rather than taking on our own authority and calling them out on their abusive behavior. And so healing that really is about being able to listen to the inner narrative of how we might be making excuses for someone. And the other one, there's the orphan child archetype, that's really about belonging. And it's really about some, like, that story as children of looking at our family and feeling like the black sheep, feeling like no one understands us, and then getting into adulthood and really having that hardwired neural pathway program going on, and saying things like always looking for evidence and having that inner narrative of why we don't belong. And that can protect us It's something that comes up for protection. Um, it can, but it's the sabotaging element. And so healing that is all about really owning, going back to owning our energy, but it's really about like, I belong everywhere I go. I, and for me, this was a big one for me, like really healing this. Like, sometimes we have these external triggers of feeling like we don't belong. And so my narrative had to change to like taking a deep breath and just saying, like, right now, I am healing people misunderstanding me. I am healing my relationship with feeling like someone's judging me. I am actively right now healing my relationship with feeling like I'm misunderstood. And that was big for me, but it's different. And I'm going over a lot here, and it's going to be broad and vague, but and I'm happy to dive into more in a future live. And this is what I do with people coaching one-on-one. So, but that's really those are the root um, archetypes. Also, we'll get, and I feel like the victim archetype, as I go more into the victim rescuer uh, dynamic, we're going into that where the root energy meets the sacral chakra energy. And so let me just scroll through my notes. Let's see. I also want to say that there's like this thing with the child archetype of growing up in harsh environments and always tuning in to other people's moods. And there's information out there that say like people aren't really empathic, they're just traumatized, or it's like a chicken egg kind of thing. But I really believe that there's people who are born with an extra sensory, it's like physical. That extra sensory system is physical, and they are hyper tuned to their environment, and they can be hyper tuned into energy. And I know a lot, like this is what we're doing here in this energy grid alchemist group, is that people who are naturally drawn to energy is because it's been with them their whole life. And sometimes maybe that was a survival skill that was developed, but I also believe because if someone didn't have that extra sensory system in their energetic field, in their physical, in their emotional capacity, they would have turned into more of a narcissistic, where like they can't deal with their internal sense of shame and everything is projection. And so it's an interesting conversation that I could talk a lot more about, but I just want to say that a lot of times people who are raised in chaotic homes might feel like they're extra sensitive because of trauma. And something I believe that is that people are born in chaotic homes. They have a choice. They could be more sensitive and they can tune into people, or they can go, they can separate from their emotional body and project everything on other people. And so when you're able to do this shadow work, when you're able to self-reflect, it's huge. It's a huge thing that you're doing. It is a very elevated human skill, is the point that I want to drive home. That your ability to self-reflect separates you from a lot of people doing very, very normal human things, and which isn't necessarily bad, but your ability to integrate, to self-reflect, to go on a shadow journey, to come back to rebirth yourself over and over is very special about you. And so as we move on to the victim archetype, it's really about, and we could go through it is about the rescuer. So a lot of times when we know that we've had many stories of people who push our boundaries, and knowing, like maybe we trusted someone and they manipulated us or they stabbed us in the back. So sometimes we have this extra rescuer archetype. And so it's easy to jump into people's stories because it's a way of wanting to heal ourselves, and there's an activist archetype in that of like, I know what that feels like and I am going to help you. But we have to watch that tendency with ourselves because it's very easy to jump into people sometimes when people are walking around sharing their victim story so easily and you're not even good friends. That is a way of baiting someone into their drama. And I mean, I know this. I can say that I've been that person. I've been the person who's like, hey everyone, I'm in a really bad place. Like, hey, nice to meet you. My name's Aubrey and I'm a victim. This is my story. And like my nervous system was so wound up. So, and I know that there were relationships that connected from that place that put me at risk, that put me in a position of being taken advantage of. And there's two things, like when I first moved to Israel from the States and I was like super overwhelmed, the first two friendships that I made were not good. And I felt really like not seen and taken advantage of. So, but it's about taking responsibility for it both ways. Like, yes, you can always share, like if you have a story that of a bad situation that you're going through or someone hurting you and you want to share, it's so important. You can protect yourself by sharing responsibly, sharing in a safe place, and to watch when other people try to pull you into their story so easily. And if you feel that pull to rescue, to notice what's happening, to really step back and analyze, like what am I, like, how can I be more of a genuine helper rather than a rescuer? And sometimes you can rescue, like if someone's drowning in the pool and you jump in, you save them, you're a rescuer. And it can be that's a literal story, but it could be a metaphoric story too. But to rescue or to really show up and to be there is like how clean you are. And that's something I'm going to say. Like how clean you are with your energy you give and you're not attached to it. Because the archetypal rescuer, I'm just going to read what I wrote rather than off the cuff, but the archetypal rescuer sets us up for what's known as the drama triangle. Basically, if I'm in a victim story about my situation, I'm walking around talking to anyone about my poor me type story, I open myself up for shadow rescuers. And shadow rescuers love to help with strings attached. And the easiest way to hear a shadow rescuer is their famous catchphrase. Do you know what it is? Their famous catchphrase is, after all I've done for you, this is the thanks I get. Because shadow rescuers don't just rescue to help. They rescue to receive. And it's about their feeling of themselves, and and then also that, like, now that I've done this for you, you can do this for me. And sometimes it's not even like a real physical favor. It's more of like, now I can control, like, I mean, I remember like just feeling overwhelmed with my kids and then like getting help from sisters and mother-in-laws and my mom, like things like that. It was trying to tell me what to do. Like, you seem to be you're struggling so much with all these kids and da da da. You need to listen to me. I'm helping you. Like, you got to follow my step-by-step plan to motherhood because I'm helping you, like that. So it's like it's convoluted. It's mucky energy. And so this is called the drama triangle, and it's all about the victim, the rescuer, and the bully or the persecutor. And so and it happens between two people, but if there's a person in your life where you have a lot of drama with them and you've had it with them for years. You can look at this model. You can look up drama triangle. There's a lot of, it's like a Psych 101 model. I took Psych 101 and they teach it to you right away because it's just about drama and how our relationships, when we get enmeshed in these human dynamics, and we're like, she did this to me and he said this to that and and I did this and I was just like, and then we're in this thing where we're all taking turns being a rescuer, being a victim, being a bully. We're all taking turns. And so it's like, usually it looks like two people taking turns being three things. Okay? And it's very simple. It's not, I mean, it takes realignment and boundary setting and personal work and shadow healing to say like, you know, this is what I can do. This is how I can help to my capacity. And I know you're going through a lot. Sometimes a therapist is the best person to really share these stories to because my mental bandwidth isn't, I just can't listen to this anymore. But this is how I can help, and I want the best for you, and I love you, and to just really trying to be as communicative and sharing where you're at and owning your boundaries and being okay with people being disappointed, people trying to make you feel guilty, and that's the healing of the drama triangle into just turning into like a person who likes to help and or is okay with helping, and also you don't have to help too. Sometimes it's like just it's okay. It's always okay to take care of your energy, to take care of your emotional system, and to step aside from mucky drama like that. Okay, so this is why it's so important to first be responsible with how we share with our struggles. So we're responsible with the areas and the people we share our struggles with. And to understand that sometimes people give without clean intentions, and to always have like to feel that out. Because sometimes people want to give to us and then we learn like they had an agenda behind it. And it's important that we give without expectations. Sometimes like we have our own shadow traits too, where we're giving and we hope that someone does something for us in return, or like helping someone with an addiction problem, like driving them to a meeting and then really hoping that they get clean. Like really, like we also have to watch our energy about like I'm happy to drive them to this meeting, but I also have to be okay with their journey, with whatever they need to do for their journey. It's not mine to walk kind of thing. So it's important like to understand how might you push people out of their comfort zone? How might people feel and it's important both ways. Like, how do people get into your energy system? What emotions and what dynamics? So for me, it was people pleasing. Like, I love feeling like I'm making people happy. Like, but that was my thing, and I was struggling with guilt. So how do people get into you, and how might you know that you get into other people, and to owning that, like, and when you say like, okay, I know that sometimes I might guilt people. I might try to, like, if I'm having a party or if I'm having a dinner and I'm trying to get on the phone and invite people over, I might extra like, oh, I made your favorite thing and this person's coming and that person's coming, and but that when you own your dynamics or your archetypes that might pull people in, like push people past their energetic boundary, that's very big high vibe stuff, because then you don't have to have any shame around it, and you can watch yourself from your own observer. That's another archetype, the part of you that witnesses yourself, and And if someone says like, hey, this happened and I really felt like you were being pushy, you can say, oh my gosh, I know I do that. I totally do that sometimes. I didn't mean to make you feel uncomfortable. And it doesn't have to be a source of shame. And it's super healing. It's like, so to really understand how people get into you energetically and how you might get into them energetically is big time high vibe stuff. And it's really just being okay, understanding our patterns, like owning our shadows. It gives us more sovereign power, and it takes that shame away that other people can't use it against us. We're taking back our sovereignty when we own how the patterns that came online when we were being raised in this world that's super dense, and uh, toxic dynamics have been very normalized. So this is part of that healing process of really owning our healing our root, and actively living in the creative energy of our sacral center. Okay, so the next one, it's about feeling obligated and understanding that sometimes people make us feel guilty. It is sometimes we feel undeserving, so we get ourselves in situations that go against our sense of self-worth. Like we might know that something's better for us. We might sit at a job way too long, feeling undeserving of a better job, or even like want to ask for more money, but not feeling deserving of it. Showing up for people and really giving to people from a sense of obligation and not feeling like we're able to say no. This all points to the prostitute archetype. I know the name is I don't know, it's just not the best name, but this isn't talking about sex workers in any way, because it's all about our energy with the exchange. It's owning our value, it's owning our self-worth, and it's saying that I can ask for this amount of money. And when someone tries to talk me down in price, when someone tries to make me feel like I am less deserving, they want a service from me. They don't want to pay the price that I feel I deserve. They're really just there's an advantage. It's an exploitation dynamic. So we can look at that archetypal pimp kind of thing of like someone like it goes into exploitative, exploiting is the word. Do you feel exploited? Are you exploiting yourself? Do you feel resentful about how you show up for people? Do you do things with resentment in your jaw? Or would you, like, if you have a job and you know that you can have a better job and you're making some money, you're grateful for the money that you're making, and you know it's temporary, that's having very clean energy with the job. Like, this job serves a purpose for me right now in my life, and I'm not exchanging in the inner dialogue about the resentment of what I'm doing right now. I'm not actively participating in this prostitute archetype energy because I know I'm doing a job and I'm okay. I know that I can make more money. I'm okay with where I'm at right now. I know it's a certain time period, but there's no resentment in my energy field. And that's getting really clean. So it's also different, because sometimes like it's about really the prostitute archetype teaches us to own our self-worth and our personal value. But it's all about your relationship with yourself and how you feel with the exchange. So then doing that, I just use job as an example, but with other people, does this person value me? Can I say no to this person without feeling guilty? Do I feel obligated to show up for them because I don't want to deal with the repercussions of it? And so those are the things to inquire about when it comes to these archetypes and this part of our energy system and our second energy center. So what did I write? Feeling obligated, undeserving, and guilty is related with the prostitute archetype. This relates with self-worth and owning our value. Reflective of our relationship with personal standards and boundaries regarding how we spend time, how we give and receive money, and how we use our physical body, like being in an event or even in a romantic relationship. Like, can I say if my partner is you know, it's the physical affection piece. Like, do I feel like I'm being met, that I'm being honored? Can I say no without feeling guilty? So it's about owning our value and not doing things that, and only doing things that feel aligned and in flow. And it's not showing up out of expectation, and it's not feeling deserving of something better. I mean, I think you can know that you deserve something better, but you can be in the moment and feel and be in like aligned energy without resentment and without judging yourself. That's the energy I'm talking about. So we're talking about exploitation, an exploitation dynamic, a person who serves without inner value and another person exploiting their lack of personal value. That's it. It's really about working with people who are benefiting from your lack of personal value. That's the thing to hone in on. Am I interacting with a person or a dynamic like this job or, with a situation am I making an exception from my lack of inner value? And is another person or another thing benefiting from me not valuing myself? That's the thing. So basically, this energy is about being kind to ourselves and taking personal accountability. It's honoring other people's experiences too. So sometimes, like I have a hard time like going to street vendors or at what do you call it? Like swap meets, what do you call it? Here we call it a shook, but trying to talk people down in price is like, I'm like, no, she asked for that price. She made that bag. I'm going to give her what she wants. Like, I can't talk people down anymore because it makes me feel like if I'm participating in that energy, if I'm asking someone to lower their value, I'm participating in that energy. And then I don't want to benefit from their lack of personal value. I want them to have value and I want to value their handmade thing, So it's hard for me, and I live in a country where like that's just expected. But it's really interesting because I do believe like we're moving into an elevated paradigm. And so this is something for me to be okay with. Like if I'm going to spend 10 more shekels on something just so I don't have to participate in that energy, I'm going to do that. So let's see. It's also really important to feel into any need to control our ways of pushing our agendas, not fully listening to people, trying to convince other people of our point of view. Sometimes how other people perceive us might not be our intention. So sometimes we have blind spots. And so it's important to keep an open mind about how people might feel us, be perceiving us and experiencing us, even if it wasn't our intention. And maybe sometimes people are perceiving us through their own like traumatic scar tissue. And we can work, if that's happened to me in the past, I've been like, wow, that was not my intention at all. I'm sorry you had that experience. This is how, like, I love you. I care about you. It's always about really just letting people have their experience and honoring, like, even like I can see where you would have said that or where you would have felt that way because I said this, I did this, and I want you to know that absolutely wasn't my intention. I honor you, I care about you, I respect you. That's the repair work with that. But it's also being open-minded to the fact that we have subconscious blocks about us. And even when I started a lot of these archetypes I'm talking about come from Carolyn Mays's book, Sacred Contracts. That book blew my mind. I listened to that and I was like, wow, I do that. I didn't even know that I did that. I didn't know I was trying to manipulate people through that pattern. But I was, and I can understand how I hurt relationships. I can understand how that person doesn't talk to me. I can think of this example and that example. We used to be friends, now we're not, and it's my fault. And that was huge for me. That was really healing for me because it helped me take more responsibility for my actions and not feel like a victim and abandoned. It made me realize that I was, and I wasn't consciously trying to hurt someone's feeling, or I wasn't consciously trying to manipulate people. I was in a very overwhelmed place. And for me, my story is like using the victim, like, poor me, can you please help me? And I was, in a way, like a black hole. And this was like when I had young children. I was just really like, what do I do? But people were helping me and giving, and I was just like, I wasn't saying thank you. I was like, give it to me, give it to me. I need, you have, I need. And I was more in that energy. And so I sabotaged relationships through that. But now that I look back, I've learned a lot. And moving forward, I can really take responsibility for that. So having my mind open to that, like, it was completely like a complete subconscious block. But when I started to open my mind to how other people were perceiving me, and rather than get defensive and write it off of like, she's judging me, she doesn't understand me, blah, blah, I was like, oh, I actually kind of sabotaged that. And I get it. So most of the time we're looking to connect with people through interests, and which is great. You know, music, favorite foods, favorite philosophical outlooks, and personal things. But so those are all great things. So sometimes we get attached to those things. Like, this is the only person that I can listen to this kind of music with. This is the only person who's interested in this hobby, and we get together, and like, so we get attached to those things. But it's really important to like know your green flags and red flags. So those green flags are about noticing who is admitting that, who's okay with admitting their mistakes, who's okay with believing in your ability, who holds you to a higher standard of yourself, who are the people who listens to you, who thoroughly enjoy being with you, and they celebrate you, they light up when you walk in the room, and they support your growth, they call you out in a loving way, you know. Red flags, when people judge you and they make assumptions. Sometimes people make assumptions and then have resentments, and sometimes, like, I point to the jaw, because that's like, resentment sits in the jaw, because it's like things that they want to say but they don't say. So sometimes people will have like a view, and like months go by, and then you hear a story like, well, you did this at that time, and so I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, if someone is not willing to talk to you in the moment, and you feel the energy changes, and then you find out a while later, that's a big red flag for me. Is the people choosing judgment over communication is a red flag. People who keep score, when you feel devalued, when you feel like if you have a nice story and you share it and someone just dismisses it and devalues it, you really don't feel like they're holding the essence of it. Hi, Jules. I'm just noticing that you're here with me. Thank you. Nice to have you here, Jules. And so you can really feel that when you give a story and someone's like, oh my gosh, that's amazing, I'm so happy for you, rather than, oh, they do that all the time, that's the big red flag, right? And so so let's see. Oh, people who gossip about other people, they're probably, if someone's gossiping to you and you see them being normal with that person, and then they come over and they talk crap about that person, that's a person they're probably doing it to you too. And I know these are like all things that a lot of us know, but those are like red flags, green flags. Those are the things that I really like to go on. I mean, I've been married for a long time, but I still feel like we date in friendships. And even when you're like Jules, I know you're a independent person as well. Like you have one-on-one clients. And so I also feel like I let myself fire people if it's just like if there's that devaluing element and there's like a power struggle element, I'm like, we don't need to work together anymore. So I like to, and I fall back on these. Like I only want to be in good, loving, respectful exchanges with everyone. And if someone wants to play some weird drama, power kind of dynamic, I'm not going to do that. I'm not in, like, I'm going to protect my energy field all the time. And so I let myself feel like I'm dating in friendships and be like, okay, this is working out or this isn't working out. And then I give myself that with clients as well. So basically, as you are on this empowering journey and you're interacting with people who are supportive of your highest self, it's really important to be very clear with your learned survival patterns. And so it's really easy to spot people who are trying to push their dominating tendencies towards you. And think about your big high vibe archetypes that you are. So like, your medicine woman, your teacher, your mentor are like, the way that you are already teaching people how to do these things. And so what do you need if you want to be fully active in your mentor archetype, your teacher archetype, your healing, your medicine woman archetype? What do you need around you to support you with that? And you need people who are, I named a lot of things, but it's really important to be very honest with your patterns and see people for who they are. So in summary, living in our highest potential takes knowing our survival shadow traits, and it's being really loving and gentle with ourselves in that process. And it's noticing red flags and green flags, and when we interact with people and being really honest with ourselves and feeling people. And I'll say it again, is like the more gentle and loving we are with ourselves, and so we're generating loving energy in our field, it's so easy to feel someone. They don't have to say anything. They're near you and you could feel that they don't have the best intentions for you. And that comes from you constantly creating compassionate self-love and following your passions and being unapologetic when it comes to your desires. That generates a field that cannot be fucked with by other people. And you can feel it immediately when someone is in the room and they don't have the best intentions for you. And you can trust your gut. If you feel that, you can fully trust your gut and giving yourself permission to do that. This is like big stuff, and this is my practice, and it's a practice. Some days are better than others. So we all deserve to have loving relationships with people who support us with being bigger versions of ourselves. Okay? So thank you so much for being here, Jules. Let's see. I'm reading. Let's see. You're talking. There are 2 ways of reacting to a victim archetype. Is to become an empath or a narcissist. Yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about, Jules. That's a whole video that I can give. I can dive into it. There's a lot of people doing like Instagram videos and stuff about that, though. There's a lot of information out there, but I can talk to you about it from an energetic perspective. And cool. How can we book an appointment with you to discover archetypes? Yes, absolutely. I do one session, like a single session. I do packages, and so I'm happy to talk to you about that. But this is what I do, and what I really like to do is look at a person's birth chart. Sometimes people aren't interested in that, but it's really like, I don't read your birth chart. I want to read your archetypes through your birth chart, and then we just talk about it. And sometimes we can throw it away. We can just kind of have a conversation about it and throw the chart away. We don't have to get too geeky about the chart, but it's really about understanding what kind of archetypal patterns you have from your birth chart, or just, and then from your life experiences. And it's really interesting, and it's a really cool thing to work with your big potential stuff, and then to work with healing and shadow stuff. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm happy to share more soon. And you can reach out about my coaching sessions, and I'm starting a group with the Lunar Cycle Alchemy group sessions in August, and I'm happy to talk to you more about that as well. So sending you lots of love. Happy new moon in Cancer. And this is the moon of just feeling it. It's like all about heart energy and really feeling. It's the empath archetype. It's like, and I know all of us are feeling it. All the people I'm talking to in my world is that it's just a sensitive time, and it's not easy. It's really not easy to feel everything. But it's such a gift too, because when you're so tuned into feeling, you can make choices, you can prioritize yourself easier, you can let go of other people and situations easier, because it feels so much better to be in loving, sensitive energy. Okay, if you have more questions, reach out. If you would like to hear more about coaching stuff, just send me a message, and we'll talk soon.